My name's Tim Bussey. I'm a fellow at Pembroke, and I'm a director of studies in the natural sciences tripos.
And my name is Tim Weil. I am also a fellow in Pembroke College. I'm a zoologist by trade, and I'm also a director of studies for the natural science tripos.
Oh, I should have said I'm a neuroscientist
Probably.
in the psychology department. We're directors of studies, which means that when you come here to read natural sciences, twice per term you meet with us.
Absolutely.
And we make sure that everything's going well and you're happy.
We'll discuss your academic track, what courses you might be thinking about taking. We'll also discuss your summer projects, for example, or what you're thinking about in terms of career goals or career options.
So we deal with your studies.
Yeah.
There are other people who you will see called tutors, and they're in charge of, what would you call it, pastoral care.
So if you're having an issue with a friend, or
Exactly.
maybe you're a little homesick, or you're having a difficult time, say, adjusting to something, you meet with your tutor and they'll be able to take you through any of the different paths you could go down, and also to direct you in the right way to receive any assistance that you might need.
So that's an important
Absolutely.
point, is that there's a lot of support.
Absolutely. And you really have an academic advisor, if you will, in your director of studies, and they'll be specific to the subject that you're taking. And then your tutor will actually be someone who's out of subject, which will then just give you a whole different perspective about how to approach certain situations. And above all of that, you might say that then there's a whole tutorial office who's there for your assistance in your academic track, as well as a senior tutor who you might meet with periodically if you have very specific questions or any type of problem.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah, so
There's the hierarchy.
you won't be alone.
No.
And of course, all of the new friends you're going to make.
Yes.
When you come to, and your peers, of course.
You will be highly supported,
Of course.
both from the fellow side and also from the peer side.
It's a friendly college.
Absolutely.
It's a friendly college.
So the course structure, what's wonderful about what's termed the natural science tripos is the diversity of courses that you'll be able to take, and that you won't have to specialize in your very first year.
Yeah, so you don't come here and read neuroscience.
No.
So you don't have to have decided that that's what you're going to be, a neuroscientist. Some people come thinking they'll probably end up studying animals.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And end up studying plants, for example.
There's a illustrious history in, especially in Cambridge, of coming in as a physical natural scientist, meaning you're studying physics and maths and chemistry, for example, and then leaving as a cell biologist or as a developmental biologist, because you got exposed to these courses in your first and second year, and then as you move to specialize in that third year, you actually decided to sort of take a change as you kind of develop in the academic track.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing you'll like is that although when you come in, there's a lot of guidance.
Absolutely.
And so you have a certain number of supervisions organized for you, and well,
we'll take you through all that in a
we
moment.
should talk about what supervisions
Absolutely.
are in a sec. But as you go on into your second year, and especially in your third year, you become very independent, and increasingly you guide your own studies. I'm not kidding about this. In many of the Part 2 courses, maybe most of them, you kind of decide yourself what parts of the course you're going to choose to revise.
Yeah.
You don't have to take the whole course if there are bits that you don't like.
It's an amazing, as you start off in your first year, you're taking 4 courses, and as you go in time, you narrow down to go to a single department. And that department, then you'll take modules within it in your final year. And those modules will actually be of your choosing. And within those modules, you'll only answer a handful of questions in the exam, which means you only need to revise those lectures that you really found the most interesting. Now, in revising those, you're going to need to read the primary literature, to really read at the forefront of our understanding of the subject and be able to synthesize that into essays. But it's what you want to be doing. So a lot of students really relish that opportunity to study what they want to study.
Yes.
Especially after a couple of years taking courses that are sort of more on the required track.
Yeah, and another point is that increasingly, rather than reading textbook
Yeah.
kind of material. You're starting to read the primary research, the really important stuff that was out, this month.
Yeah.
So it's right up to date. And the other thing is, perhaps because it's Cambridge, often you'll be lectured by the person who did it.
Yeah.
So,
Which is
so
a real
that's
great
exciting.
opportunity.
It is indeed. The other thing you mentioned was
Yeah.
departments. So
Absolutely.
that's the other thing that happens as you go through, is that you become less all about college
Yeah.
and more affiliated with the department. You start to hang out in the department and know people in the department and so on and so forth. That's the other kind of change, isn't there, as you go through?
Yeah. So what is a supervision? These are opportunities to get together with experts in a very small group, maybe one-on-one or even one-on-two or one-on-three, and discuss the lectures that you've been taking.
Yeah, so they make sure if you have any issues with a particular section
Yeah.
of the course, they'll help you understand that
Exactly.
stuff. That's their job. Their job is also to make sure that you understand it. So you do work for them.
Yeah.
In the biological subjects is often essays
Yeah.
that you write in each of your subjects
So
every
typically-
couple of weeks.
Yeah. So typically you might write one essay every supervision or every other supervision. So probably somewhere around 5 to 6 essays per term per each of the courses. So if you're taking 3 courses, you might say write 20 essays in the course of the term.
Yeah.
And each essay the expectation is to have read the material in the lecture, brought together the ideas, and then responded specifically to a prompt that was given to you by your by your supervisor. And they're usually about 3 or 4 pages long. If they're handwritten, they should take you about an hour to write once you've done the preparation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in other subjects, there might be problem sets.
Yeah.
It's not always essays. We're
Exactly.
both bio, so
Yeah, as a zoologist and as a neuroscientist.
we tend to know about essays.
Exactly. But you might have a problem set for physics or a problem set for maths. And in the supervision, you might spend actually 45 minutes just working on one problem or
Indeed.
discussing one concept, because that's really where you got hung up, for example. So,
Yeah. The supervisions, I think it's one of the things that makes the place great. I mean,
Yeah.
where else do you get one-on-one
Exactly.
tutorial, every week?
Exactly. And it's a completely-
to help you stay on top of your courses.
Exactly.
It's wonderful. Really.
And oftentimes the fellows in the college will actually be carrying out the supervisions. So for example, I've supervised cell and developmental biology, which is actually a course I also lecture in. And so you're getting a lot of one-on-one time. We work through questions, and I'm learning from you and you're learning from me. And it really is a conversation and a really nice dynamic with, say, 2 or 3 people and someone who really understands the subject.
Indeed.
Yeah. So who might actually be giving these supervisions? And that can range from a graduate student in the pathology department or a postdoc, in a different department who's a specialist within that field. And they're going to sit down with you, and you're going to get a chance to really, work with them on some of the really tough questions from the lectures for an hour once a week.
Or it could be, a senior scientist, a professor emeritus,
Exactly.
Might have a Nobel Prize
Just-
in this place.
Exactly, and it's a few of them bouncing around, and it's, it's really quite a great opportunity, and it's what makes, I think, the Cambridge system, and especially in the sciences, where you're surrounded by excellent scientists, to sit down and really ask them the kinds of questions that'll really take you to the next level, that are far beyond any curriculum that you'd experience.
Indeed.
So how do you get into a Cambridge college?
Now that you're convinced
Yeah.
that you want to come to Pembroke,
Exactly. So what do you do?
And read natural sciences.
So there's an application process, and what's a little different about Oxford and Cambridge is that you're going to be applying to a college, and through a college, not to the university as a whole. So you'd need to pick a college that you're thinking of applying to. Then you go through the standard UCAS application aspect, and most of the students who apply will be shortlisted to interview. And really, it's a long list.
The interview.
Yeah.
The interview.
So lots of rumors out there about interviews, and lots of misconceptions.
I think so.
But Tim and I have been interviewing myself for a few years, and Tim for a few more. And so I think we can break down sort of what the interview might be like, and sort of what we're looking for.
I think one of the first things to say is that the rumors,
Yeah.
more or less, are about how stressful and intimidating and weird
Yes.
interviews
Bizarre.
can be. But I mean, I can't speak for every interviewer,
Yeah.
but everyone that I know, their philosophy, if that's not too grand a word, is precisely the opposite. We have no interest in making it stressful or intimidating or that weird.
There's no joy in watching a student struggle or
No.
watching a student really suffer through an interview. And in fact, in a vast majority of the interviews that we do, we find them quite enjoyable and quite interesting.
Indeed.
We are going to simply set, some sort of general questions just to get us talking. So
Yeah.
you'll come in, we'll just start discussing a subject, and ideally, from my perspective, I'm not that interested in what you know or sort of facts about, a cell's nucleus. What I'm really interested in is how you think. And so the questions we're trying to ask are to really push you to think in new ways and just to see the process over the course of about 25 minutes of how you process information, and how you can sort of synthesize and express your own ideas.
So when you come to interview, just relax.
Yeah. It's the hardest thing to do.
It is hard, but relax.
Yeah.
Get stuck in
Absolutely.
and have a go
Yeah.
and be yourself.
And
That's my advice.
there will be paper if you need a minute, and you want to draw something. You can actually just say to Tim, can I just think about that for a second? And we can.
That's great.
We're actually quite happy to see that, and then you come back with an answer.
That's great.
And oftentimes, some of the worst answers I think that I ever get are, well, we haven't done that in my A level yet.
Yeah.
Then I say, perfect.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that now for 5 minutes.
Exactly right.
And if you're just sort of, spouting off, regurgitating things, that's not what we want to hear. As soon as you start giving me the answer, in a textbook form, I'll just change the question, because that's not what we're looking for in the interview. Which really leads then to how does one prepare for the interview, and it becomes quite a difficult thing, because we just want to hear who you are and how you.
I don't know how much you
work.
can prepare, honestly. I think come and have fun and get stuck in and be yourself is
Just be
the
your-
best preparation. If that's
Absolutely.
what is not really preparation.
No, it's a unique experience, but it is not one to be afraid of or to be worried
No,
about.
that's for sure.
It's quite literally
Have fun.
what we're doing right now, which is just going back and forth and having
It
conversations.
is very much like that.
It would be me trying to discuss neuroscience and failing miserably, but no, it's meant to be just a fun and it is, it's an enjoyable experience. Most students will tell you that. So if you're applying to a college and there are 30 odd colleges in Cambridge, you need to decide on which one you might want to apply to. And one of the deciding factors should certainly be the course that you want to take. But there's a lot of other things that go into making, an enjoyable university experience. And we at Pembroke have quite a bit to offer, we like to think.
Yeah, indeed.
And I think maybe we could summarize some of the pros and some of the reasons that students tend to pick Pembroke as the college they'd like to apply to.
Especially natural sciences, because Pembroke is right next to the science labs and where you have most of your, certainly in the biological side.
So the geography of Pembroke is pretty much ideal in the center of Cambridge, walkable to all the shops, all the restaurants, all the places you'd go out, but also to both the new museum site where you're going to have a lot of your first year lectures, and also to the Downing site where many of the science departments will be. So in addition to not only being proximal to all these things, a lot of the fellows have been doing this for quite some time now and who are really sort of in the departments and sort of know how the courses work, so can really give a lot of what we like to consider sort of pretty good advice and pretty specific advice to the individual needs of those students.
They won't be going out for dinner though, because the food at Pembroke is so good.
So Pembroke is well known for excellent food, and it is one of the things that well, we're proud of, but we also sort of are really quite happy with.
Well, even the students say
The students love the food. In fact, students from other
No,
colleges, if you say you're Pembroke,
really.
they'll say, "Oh, you guys have a great brunch," and "Oh man, I went to formal there, and wow, really nice, really nice food there." So, and that's not to be underestimated. If you're eating here 2 or 3 times a day, and you have good food, and you can sort of show off the college to your friends by bringing them to dinner as well, people really tend to take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, sure.
Which is great.
Yeah, and I mean, that is also what it's about here, is having some fun.
Oh.
So it's not just about studying 24/7.
And
I mean, we're directors of studies, and I tell my students, don't study 24/7.
We both will give advice at the end of term meetings to take some downtime, especially in the breaks and the holidays. The Cambridge terms are quite short and incredibly intense. So relax a little bit. And even in term, go out.
Well,
join
there's
a club.
tons to do,
Ah,
right?
absolutely.
There's clubs, there's music, there's
Theater,
drama,
absolutely.
there's sport. Every college has a team in every
Pretty
sport.
much everything. So major sports, things like rowing, there will be 3 or 4 boats each term, and a lot of students at Pembroke will get into rowing as a great way to socialize and get to know people. There's a rugby team, there's a football team, 2 or 3 football teams for both men and women. There's a water polo team, there's a basketball team, and all of these teams are playing other colleges, and so it becomes quite competitive in that way, and it's
terrific.
a really great atmosphere. The master of the college will come out to the championship games in football every year that's played
Sure.
at the
Many
university
of us
stadium.
do.
Exactly. And then the drama, people will come out to plays. There's both university plays and drama clubs within the college. There's chess societies, there's science societies.
Tiddlywinks.
You name it, literally you name it. And there's societies, and the great thing about Cambridge is you have your college, and you can be a part of many of these societies in the college. And then you can also have, university societies and university sports. And so if you want to engage in those as well, then you're meeting other people, and there's so much to do. I think no one is at a loss. And if they happen not to have the club or the society that you really want to do, you can get funding in a heartbeat from the college, and you can have your own, and you can kind of start whatever it is.
You're making promises now.
I am sorry about that. I've never seen it denied if it's a worthy cause. So
That's good. That is good.
So socially, it's a very rich place. The other aspect is Pembroke has absolutely beautiful grounds. So we've got some of the best horticulturalists and some of the best gardeners in all of Cambridge. And you'll have a lot of tourists wandering through to look at the plants, especially on a summer day. It's really a gorgeous place to walk through. The courts in Pembroke, so these squares with the buildings, aren't closed, so there's a lot of light that gets in. And it's a fascinating architectural place if you're into architecture.
I think they're convinced.
I think we're doing a very good job.
Come.
Apply. I think
years of your life.
the bottom line is, if you're not sure if you want to apply, just apply.
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing to lose, and it's a great experience even just to come and interview and see the place, because you never know, might end up here as a graduate student or as a postdoc or as a fellow someday.
So, see you soon.
Yeah, take care.